week we dive deep into whatever it is we find interesting. I'm your host, Calvin, and joining me from his lair inside an active volcano, it's your co-host, Nick Richardson.
It's Dr. Evil. That's not a cartoon.
Or TV.
Yeah.
I was just thinking like a cool villain, but we're talking TV villains today. Just go right to it.
Yeah.
I just thought of something that would be a cool place for a villain to have a lair. Sorry.
Well, I mean, that just automatically makes me think of Dr. Frickin' Evil from Austin Powers.
Was he I guess in Austin Powers 3, he was in an active volcano.
An active volcano layer.
So what we're doing here with the TV villains, before Nick gets too deep into his Dr. Evil impressions, is we each pick 4 villains from TV. Any TV across the board. And we're going to go back and forth, and we're going to rate each villain on a bunch of factors on a scale of 1 to 10 to find out who is the best, most perfect villain. So we're going to give 1 to 10. We're going to give each villain a score for each factor, and then a brief reason why we gave that score, and then kind of just let the other person feed off of that a little bit. Nick doesn't know a lot about my villains. I don't know a lot about Nick's villains, so it'll be kind of one-sided with the ratings, which is good. We're going to keep track. I got a spreadsheet open. We're going to keep track of the scores as we go, and at the end of it, we're going to determine who the best villain is scientifically and mathematically. And
this is Calvin shit, y'all. Just so you're aware.
It can't be disputed when there's math to back it up, okay?
I think there needs to be a video feed attached to this file.
To the math to make sure I don't change any of the numbers.
Yes, we can't have any tomfoolery here, Calvin. This is serious shit, man. I don't know if you know this.
Do no tomfoolery when dealing with spreadsheets, okay? You should know that.
It's the unwritten code. I imagine you and like an accountant would be best friends.
I am best friends with an accountant. Not really.
Yes.
I don't know any accountants.
Damn it, Calvin.
Like the one person I get along with best at work is like he is an accountant, but he doesn't work in the accounting department anymore. So I guess. Okay. We'll go with that.
He's just like, so, and then just leaves. Like,
yeah,
man,
he's
really
more of he's still somewhat in the realm of accounting, but also like data mining accounting side. So
oh man, he's just in the weeds there.
So we just talk about Excel all day long. So much fun. But if and when this episode is great, because it's going to be a lot of fun, we are going to branch out and do lots of different types of villains. We're going to do villains from book series. We're going to do villains from comic book series. We're going to do villains from cartoons. We're going to do villains from, probably not movies, because we already do movie superlatives. But maybe we'll do movie villain superlatives. Who knows? But all kinds of different villains we're gonna go after eventually. No set schedule, but just any kind of genre we want to think of, we're gonna throw the villain treatment at them. Batman villains, Spider-Man villains. You could do it for anything.
I mean, no heroes here. We're going full villain.
The heroes
crossover.
are boring. They're easy. Guy is strong. Guy saves day. Done.
Guy bangs chick. Super done.
Yeah. We don't want that.
Yeah, who would want that?
It's not that you wouldn't want it. Who wants to talk about it? It's boring to talk about. We want to talk about the other side of the coin, what makes these bad guys tick. So, let's talk about what makes a good villain. These are the 5 factors that we're going to be grading each villain on. Connection to the protagonist or protagonists. The intelligence factor. Are they smart or are they dumb? That's important. Do you have sympathy for the villain in a sense that the villain is the hero of their own story? The mystique factor. How much do we know about them? This can be a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know. I don't think I have any where the case is where the less we know about them, the worse it is. We didn't cover the Night King here, but that was definitely a deficit to the Night King that we knew absolutely nothing about his goal.
I mean, don't even get me fucking started on that shit.
We're not going to talk about the Night King because we don't want to, because he sucks. And the final factor is the intimidation factor. How scary is it to be up against this dude or lady? Could be a lady. And did you shit your pants or not?
Lady. I mean, I would probably shit my pants with every single person on this list. Actually, false. False.
I don't think so.
False. We'll find out. You guys are going to find out. Most definitely. I will rate it on a pants shitting factor.
Let's start it off, Nick. You go first. Who is your first villain?
So my first pick is Homelander from The Boys. Coming out fucking swinging on this one.
Hey, we did pilot projections on The Boys one time.
Yes, we did. But Calvin did not do the description very well, so you got to listen to all of them.
Yes, go back in our feed. There are like 7 or 8 Patreon bonus episodes in there, which is all just our Patreon dumps in there. I don't know which one it is. There's like 4 that are pilot projections. You got to listen to all 4 to find The Boys. It's probably the second one, though, if I had to guess.
I believe I talked about it pretty favorably because it was dope. Mostly what grabbed my attention was Homelander. Imagine a genetically engineered super being, a superhero in a superhero society who's the picture-perfect, square-jawed American, loves the country, God is great.
He's the Superman of your crew, more or less.
He's the Superman of the group. Most definitely, he shares all the same powers down in the laser vision. I don't know if he has X-ray vision, but I know he has like super hearing and stuff like that. But anyway, he is a raging piece of shit.
That's fair.
That's fair. This guy is extremely violent. He's a sociopath to the 10th degree. He has incredible mommy issues. He drinks breast milk and loves to fucking murder people. I feel like it gets this dude off. And he, at the same time, is incredibly irrational and just has that facade that he puts on. And I feel like that's what makes him pretty fucking dangerous, because to the public, he's the all-star, the, touched by God little man. But behind the scenes, he is probably one of the most lethal villains you could put on screen.
All right, so scale of 1 to 10, what's his connection to the protagonist?
I'm going to give that, this is pretty tough because I got to give it a 10. Coming out swinging, because in the show, it basically is revealed that Billy Butcher, who is played by Carl Urban, who is one of the main character of The Boys, he leads the crew of normal people to basically round up Supes and eventually kill them. His main target is Homelander, and you come to find out that Homelander basically banged his wife. It's contested if it was rape, but it appears to be consensual for the most part. Impregnated her, and then basically made everyone think that she was dead and disappeared, and so he's the father of the baby. So it's super.
Yeah, I think I deleted that last spoiler alert, but yeah, there will be spoilers for every single show we're talking about.
If you made it, I'm sure you made it that far in The Boys if you were remotely interested in it, because it was all over the internet too. It was really, really intense because it differed from the comic, I guess, which is one I did not read, but got to give him a 10 because he totally abducted this dude's wife, made her disappear, impregnated her.
Clearly why he's after him. Like, part of that's why he's after him, I would assume. So, I'd agree with you there. What about intelligence?
I had a hard time with this one because he comes across as extremely calm, calculated most of the time, but his temper is so erratic that he flies off the handle and makes terrible decisions. So I got to give him a 5. Because if you can't maintain your emotion, actually think through a situation, it's kind of, fucking tough to make smart choices all the time.
That's fair. It is. I don't disagree with you. So do we have any sympathy for this villain?
Not really.
Is he the hero of his own story?
Well, yeah. He wants to basically be king shit, and he is to he needs
adoration. But I think he knows that he's a piece of shit. Like, he doesn't care that he's a piece of shit. He just wants people to believe. He's the hero to the generic layperson, but he's not a hero to himself. He knows he's not.
Oh, he thinks he's the best thing on fucking planet Earth.
I haven't watched the show other than that first episode, so I don't know.
He's very, very into himself. He, has to have that adoration of the public and feeds off that to the point where he believes they're, the propaganda it produces It's weird. So I'm gonna give that probably a 3, because he really didn't have a choice in being genetically modified, but he is a fucking sociopath. So I'm gonna downgrade that. Actually, I'm gonna go down to a fucking 1 because he's a douchebag, and I don't feel bad for him.
Live changing of the ratings here. Wow, this is unprecedented on the villain series.
We need to get John Madden in this bitch.
So what about his mystique factor?
You know, this was a tough one for me because he has that persona that's given to the public, so much, but his backstory is slowly being revealed, I guess. I mean, it's more so, you had a faint idea, or pretty good idea what his backstory was, but just little bits and pieces, the details are being filled in. So, honestly, I gotta give it a 6. Gotta give it a 6 because he's under the radar, or not under the radar, he's under the microscope all the time, but
well, he's got the mystique to the people within the story too, and that's important. Like nobody knows what a big piece of shit he is.
For the most part, but the right people know how big of a piece of shit he is.
And how about intimidation, Nick?
10, baby. A fucking 10. This dude is scary as shit. Oh my god. I'm not a fan of the way I don't know the name of the actor that portrays him, but it is intensely frightening seeing this dude just switch between the two personas he has. And at one point in the series, major spoiler here, he basically lets everyone in the plane fucking die because he doesn't really want to deal with it. That's
fair. Yeah. Fuck those people.
Yeah, he's laser beams from the eyes, sociopath. He doesn't have any of that rah rah, I'm a good boy type feeling. He's all about himself.
I feel you. So that gives him a total score of 32. He is currently the best villain that we've talked about.
Currently. We'll see how long that lasts. So Calvin, who's your number 1, dude?
My number 1 is Sylar from Heroes Season 1 only. Fuck the rest of the seasons.
I hear that from a lot of people.
They're fine. I'd like to do a full rewatch. Definitely of Season 1. Maybe all the way through Season 4 just to kind of remember how far off the rails it went. Because I remember I was kind of into it during Season 2 and Season 3 while it was on. It was the show that I would go after at the time. So like I made myself be into it. But it would be interesting to revisit it now. I have them all on DVD, so I could watch them if I needed to.
You had to break out the archaic technology of DVDs.
Exactly. So Sylar was the main antagonist of Season 1. He was a serial killer hunting down other people with powers. And I'll get into that as I go through his rating. I kind of did it. I broke up the explanation of the villain throughout the different ratings. So I think once you listen to this whole thing, you'll have a pretty good idea of who he is, because I know you haven't seen Heroes.
No, but I'm pretty sure he's played by Zachary Quinto.
Quinto, yes. You should watch at least Season 1 of Heroes. It's awesome.
I heard it's fantastic.
It's really good.
I need more than one season, Calvin.
Nah, I mean, Season 1 is really good. You don't need more than one.
That's fair.
Just imagine the end of Season 1 is the end of the show, and you'll be fine.
Okay, yeah.
I'm pretty sure it wraps itself nicely, so you could live in a world where Season 1 is the only thing that exists, and also leaves enough open that you could keep going if you wanted to.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm willing to give it a shot. Maybe we need to bring back pilot projections for Heroes.
Or you could just watch it out of the fondness of your heart.
Take the fucking fun out of it, Calvin.
So for connection to the protagonist, I gave Sylar a 3 out of 10. He doesn't have any real connection to the protagonist, not in Season 1 at least. I think sometime later down the road, it turns out like he's maybe someone's secret brother or something like that. Okay. In the later seasons, it got very soap opera-y with the connections between the characters. Again, all my memories after Season 1 are pretty hazy, but they don't matter for this because we're only talking Season 1. But I bumped him up a couple of points because he is actively hunting our protagonists because they have powers, but not because of any inherent connection to them. He doesn't actually know that he's hunting our favorite characters. He's just hunting everybody with powers.
I give that like a 1. Is in this society, do they have
lots
of people with heroes?
No, and no one
Okay.
knows, right? So there was
Okay.
this event, I believe it was the solar eclipse, that triggered people with powers to manifest. So before this event that happens in the first episode, nobody had powers in this world. And then all of a sudden, these different people started popping up, and there's a couple different entities that are hunting them down. There's like this company that tries to track them and study them that's hunting them down. There's Sylar who's hunting them down for reasons I'll get into in a few minutes. And they're kind of hunting each other to try and find like-minded people. Uh, so he's after our protagonist, and the protagonists know that he's out there, that somebody's out there looking for and killing.
I can see a 3.
Yeah.
For sure.
So the intelligent factor, he's an 8 here. 8 out of 10. He's incredibly smart, incredibly crafty. He was a watch repairman before his superpowers manifested, and his superpower now that it had manifested was that he could look at something and know inherently what makes it tick. Pun superintended there. Definitely not
That's
that.
dumb.
Just
That's
Just you got to stick with me. It's a good power and it makes sense because it helped him become a super skilled hunter and detective. He could outsmart his prey because he would not only understand them, but also everything that was going on around them and how to use it to his advantage. So he would meet up with these people and kind of study them and, just watch them, and he could use the way things worked to his advantage. So he was very good at repairing watches because he knew how they worked. And so he could then, after his power manifested, he could basically look at anything and know how it worked. And that's why he was hunting these supers, because he was trying to take from them what made them super and bring it into himself. But he was able to do it very smartly because he knew what was going on around these people, and he could use his power to find them. So he would make these different connections that otherwise couldn't be made to figure out people have powers or doing certain things, so he could go and find them and take their power, because he's not an investigator. He doesn't know how to do any of that, but because he has this power, he can make connections that otherwise wouldn't be there.
I mean, that's pretty cool, but that pun is rough. And just
I mean, that was my pun. That's not their pun in the show.
I mean, that is the pun of the show.
I guess.
I'm sure you're not the only one that was just like, I see what they're doing. This is great.
See what makes them tick. Not the tick, by the way.
Great show. Love that.
Which one?
I'm very curious about this show now. You've got me.
It's really good. The way they portray this power is a lot more interesting because by the time we first see him, it is fully involved, and he has stolen powers from other people, so he can make those powers work with his own inherent power, and it is very interesting how they put them together.
I can't, honestly, I'm going to come clean. Zachary Quinto, not a fan of his face. He always looks like he's intensely staring at like a fly that he's waiting for.
That's important here, though. Like, that works to his advantage here.
Does it? I never knew.
Yeah.
I mean, I never knew that would work to your advantage. Like, this guy is...
It absolutely does.
I thought he'd fit right in with like a fucking punk band. Looks like he's got mascara on all the time.
So for sympathy for the villain, I gave him a 3 out of 10. He's definitely not the hero of anything. Not in season 1, at least. I think in like season 3, they try and flip him around, and now he's the hero, and the main hero is the bad guy. It gets crazy.
Is that also the season of the brother storyline?
Maybe. I honestly don't know.
So what you're saying is that he's got some mystique about him, too.
Oh, yeah, we'll get to Mystique in a second.
Damn.
So we have no sympathy for him. He's just out collecting powers because he thought it was incumbent upon himself to become the most powerful, since he knew how to make the powers work better than their original owners. So he would see these people with powers, and he would want to take them from them because he knew what to do with them better. Because he was so smart and knew how things worked so well, he thought he deserved the powers more than the people who they were bestowed upon.
What a dick.
They tried to build some sympathy for him. He had some mommy and daddy issues. There was this weird storyline. His mom loved snow globes and was like a bit overbearing, and she didn't think he'd amount to much or something like that. He eventually accidentally killed her. whatever, quote unquote,
Whoa,
accidentally.
big jump there.
Yeah. I think she's only in like 2 episodes, I think, before, like, between showing who she is and how that affects him to him killing her is less than 2 episodes, I want to say.
Righteous.
And then his dad, I think, was like one of those overbearing dads that constantly told him he wasn't good. His dad owned the watch shop before he did, kind of berated him that he wasn't good enough to fix watches like his dad could. So that's why he felt he needed to be the best, most powerful. So they tried to build that sympathy. It just wasn't working for me. Like, he was an evil dick.
That doesn't sound very... Oh, you're not going to be as good as me at making fucking watches that most people don't use anymore. Or something this elaborate.
They're repairing the watches, Nick.
Listen, Cal, we're going digital. And most of those, you don't have the right to repair. Either way, dying profession, I get it. I mean, I totally understand the overbearing father, but it's like, really, man? Like, that's a weird conclusion.
Well, he had to need to know how things work. He had to know what makes things tick.
Just gotta know what everything. He reminds me of the MRI tech from Parks and Rec. What's in that bread? Could be cheese.
Exactly. Who knows? So his mystique factor, I give him a 5 out of 10 here, right in the middle of the spectrum, because early in the show, they do a really good job. They keep him hidden with the heroes of the show. They're just chasing down some unknown killer that would be slicing people's heads open seemingly randomly. We as viewers first got a glimpse of him in, like, I want to say it was like episode 3, but it was still kind of a mystery who was lurking, who was behind the hat and hoodie. Like, you couldn't see his full face. We just got a glimpse of, like, this is the guy that's hunting people. And they threw out some of the red herrings where it could have been possibly one of the other heroes who's having, like, mental lapses. We don't know at that point. And then, so once he's finally revealed to viewers, it's like episode 10 or 12. The heroes in the story still don't know who he is until the last few episodes, but we do. And now we know who they should be chasing after. But the mystery behind who Sylar was honestly the catalyst for one of the first bingeable shows of the modern age, in my mind. And I think in a lot of people's mind. Because this came out in 2006. So binge watching hadn't really become a thing. And cliffhangers were, but not to the point where you, like, really needed to see the rest.
Right, yeah.
So I remember my roommate, he came to me, he told me about it, turned me on to the show for the first time. I was like, okay, I'll check it out. And he gave me this, this legal adjacent streaming site that he had been using to watch it, because we didn't have DVRs, on demand, really not widespread at the time, especially on college campuses. Like, I was living in one of the on-campus apartments. So he's telling me, check it out on this site. There's like 10 episodes out there. So I'm like, all right, I'll check it out. Watch the first episode, probably like 6 or 7 in the evening while I was eating dinner. And then all of a sudden it's 3 a.m. and I'm 10 episodes deep, had caught up with everything. And mostly all of that was on the strength of the Sylar mystery of just like, who is this guy? What is he doing? Why is he doing this? But the other characters are very compelling as well within that first season.
Man, that sounds pretty fucking dope.
Yeah.
Question, though.
Mm-hmm.
Does he have an MO in regards to dispatching people to the afterlife? Does he do the same thing every time?
Yes. But in the beginning, it's not that many people. So, like, he's a serial killer for sure.
They haven't developed a pattern yet.
The company is on. They're like, okay, this is the 3rd or 4th person with their head chopped off that we've seen. Because the first 2 he couldn't do that with because he didn't have that power yet. But then by like the 3rd or 4th, he had these new powers and he could do it in the way that he finally settled on. And so that became his pattern. And then he started mowing people down, and the company got onto him and were chasing him down. Some of the heroes were chasing him down. He was just very good at staying ahead of the competition because he knew how things worked and he knew when people were on to him. Yeah,
that sounds intense.
Yeah. And my roommate, he warned me because he said the same thing happened when he started watching it, and boom, 10 episodes, like nothing. I should have believed it.
Fuck, man. I wish I had some time to binge it like that. That'd be awesome.
So, yeah, like the mystery was built really good in the beginning, but then once they started revealing him and his true nature, they kind of went balls deep on backstory for him. And they kind of crossed the threshold of mysterious villain to, should we feel sorry for this guy? And then back to, wait, no, he's killed like 25 people and is trying to take over the world. Fuck this guy. So they like very quickly went from, we're just going to keep it a mystery to, well, let's make you feel a little sympathy for him. And then we're going to give you all the information that shows you he's really a dick and don't like him.
Yeah, they're like, maybe you should feel bad for him. Psych! He's a dick, and this is why. Here's a detailed list in email form. It's notarized for you.
So the intimidation factor is a 10 out of 10.
You're going to have to convince me of this shit.
Yeah, all right. Sylar, truly terrifying villain from all the shows I've ever seen. Like, he stuck in my mind the way he would hunt people down, the way he would kill them, the way he would kind of play with them. He's meticulous, he's mysterious, and he's absolutely menacing. So what he would do is he would hunt down these other people with superpowers, right? He would use his investigative skills to figure out who they were, and then he would get to know them a bit, either by spying on them or just literally going up and talking to them, pretending he's a reporter, anything like that, just to know who they are, where they come from. And then he would slice their heads open with his mind while pointing at it. Like, he'd take his finger, kind of like, he's got the, what's the Jean Grey superpower?
Telepathy?
Not telepathy. What's it when you can move?
Telekinesis?
Telekinesis, yes. So he would use his telekinesis and point his finger at the person's head and slice it open like his finger was a saw, never touching them. And then he'd steal the piece of their brains that gave them superpowers while they were alive, but also paralyzed, which he was doing with his mind. So he would paralyze them with his mind, make them sit down, talk to them, learn about them, slice their head open so they'd stay alive, but their brain would be exposed, so he could study their brain while they're alive, and then eventually take the piece that he needed and leave them for dead.
That is fucking intense, dude. Jesus Christ.
I'm not done yet.
I'm not done yet.
So because he knew how things work, I already explained that. He'd cut out the top of someone's head, he'd investigate their brain, find it out. So he'd just take it out, put it in his own brain. That part was never explained, how he would take it from somebody's brain and put it in his own brain. We never got an explanation for that. That was the other reason I kept watching. I'm like, maybe they'll finally explain how Sylar actually absorbs the other powers. Never did. So then he has their power too. He has his own initial power, and he has all these other powers that he's collecting. But I think like the first person he killed, he just had to bash over the head and take it from their crushed brains, because he didn't have the telekinesis yet.
Jesus, and this was on like the WB or something?
This was on NBC.
But
you didn't see any of it. So he'd like point at their head, and it would kind of make this saw, like surgical saw whirring sound, and then it would cut away. But you would know what was going on.
Oh, you would know. It's about the implication.
Right, and the implication of being in this position is absolutely terrifying. If you're a character with powers, because they knew they were being hunted here, but you didn't know by who or how how all these people were being killed, like just think of, okay, this guy shows up, now I'm paralyzed, now he sliced my head out. Like, you're awake for all of this. It's insane.
Yeah, the mental torture is awful.
Exactly. So then, after he would kill them, because he got to know them first, he would throw anyone else investigating the company, the other heroes, he would throw them off the scent by pretending to be the victim for a few days after killing them. That's why he stayed there and got to know them. He'd just like hang out in their house, answer the phone, talk to people. If they showed up, he would just be like, yeah, I'm George. How's it going? Because Facebook didn't exist yet, really.
They're like, no, you're not. I saw George the other day. Yes, I am.
No, these are like people who have never seen George before.
Like, hey, it's the mailman. I've never seen you before in the 9 years I've been delivering, but sup? It's a lot of eyeshadow you got there, man.
So I know, yeah, you've got problems with Zachary Quinto, but he did an absolutely great job of portraying him
sure he could do
as a menace and just like this true psychopath. So shout out Zachary Quinto.
Yeah, okay. Shout out to him.
So he got a total score of 29, putting him in second place.
Second place of 2.
Yeah, his connections and sympathy really hurt him here. All right, who is your number 2?
Number 2, and I'll move through this one a whole lot quicker because I'm sure no one really gives a shit about.
I give a
Lucretia from Spartacus. That's Lucretia from Spartacus. She is awful.
Damn,
she's
10s across the board.
Fucking terrible. Her connection to the protagonist is pretty much that she owns him. So Spartacus is about Spartacus, the Roman slave who revolted and defeated 3 legions before being wiped out and having, like...
Shout out Spartacus.
Yeah, I mean, like 6,000 of his comrades got crucified afterwards, though. So...
Reverse shout out to those guys.
Reverse shout out. I forgot about reverse shout out. Anyway, so he is a Thracian soldier who is, fighting in they're really good chariot people. Anyway, he was fighting with a legion and ended up becoming a slave and going back to Capua, where he is being trained, and one of the dominus, if you will, of the family is Lucretia, who is played by Lucy Lawless really effectively.
Nice.
Yes. It was dope. So she's wicked smart. She's super fucking smart and conniving. She's got her hands in everything.
Wait, you didn't give me a score for Connection.
That's right. I just moved right past that shit. So
I need a number, otherwise the spreadsheet doesn't work, Nick.
I had a really, really hard time with this. I had to give it a 7. And I wanted to give it a 6.5 initially, but I moved it to a 7 mostly because they've seen each other naked numerous times.
Yeah, that's a strong connection there.
It's a pretty strong, just saying.
Yeah, I feel you. Okay, go back to how smart she is.
She's wicked smart. Let me just say that again. It's your cousin from Boston. She has her hands in fucking everything, and she's more of a low class individual, so she kind of rose through the ranks by marrying her her man, whatever you want to call him, her I don't remember what they refer to him as, but anyway,
not important for this.
She has her hands in everything. That pretty much says it all.
Nice. She's a skilled player of the Game of Thrones, you could say.
Yes, very reminiscent of Cersei.
We'll get to Cersei.
Spoilers, Calvin. Shit.
Oh, sorry.
She manipulates pretty much every single person she comes into contact with to better herself. She does not give an absolute shit about anyone but herself and her husband.
And what number would you give the intelligence, Nick?
I'm giving her a 5. Now, she is wicked, wicked smart, but it kind of blows up in her face, So
just like Cersei. I got it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, we'll get to Cersei. Don't worry. We'll get to Cersei.
Fucking.
What about the mystique? Nope, sorry. We skipped the sympathy for Lucretia.
I'm going to go back to this low class thing. So she was low class. Let me say that again for the 3rd time. Just in case you didn't get it. Was she low class or high class? She was fucking low class as shit, bud. But she
raised in flea bottom. I get it.
God damn it.
We're going to get to Cersei, I swear.
We'll get to her. It might as well be this. But anyway, she you feel bad for her because a lot of other Romans talk down to her and subsequently talk down to her husband. So it causes a lot of friction between those two.
Romans are assholes, I think is what I'm learning here.
Pretty much. And she's just fantastic at portraying someone who's like deeply hurt by people's words, when in reality she's like, I'm going to cut your fucking dick off as soon as I possibly can. So I'm going to give it a 5. You do feel bad for her because she feels like, I don't know, I guess it's, in the end, she gets fucking wrecked, buddy. I'm going to spoil it here for you. She basically...
I'm not going to watch the show.
Yeah, most people are not. It's like 10 years old by now. But she loses everything and gets murdered to shit. She tries to get pregnant throughout the show and finally does in the end. And she ends up losing the baby and herself. And it's really fucking brutal. But she's also a terrible person. But brutality is fucking mean, man. 5. Mystique. I'm going to start off with like a 1. We know everything about her. You see her boobs 1,000 times. So
I mean, there's more to a woman than boobs, Nick.
I get that. But I'm just saying that... No, Calvin, I don't. I don't get it.
It's all just tits and ass to you, isn't it, Nick?
It's what I come here for. But no, I opened with that
Gotcha.
because they're just great, Calvin. I just wanted to impress upon you how fantastic they are. As I've alluded to several times throughout my discussion of her, you see her manipulating, and she pretty much narrates her entire life, tells everyone why she's manipulating everyone, and you see her dispatch a million fucking people. So you really have no Mystique.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that, of like giving us the inner thoughts of why the villain is doing everything the villain's doing. That's not fun. We
Well,
need to know some of why they're doing it, but not like every beat for beat step.
You literally know everything about her, down to just, her as the basic human, to all her aspirations and all that shit. So there's not much to it.
Yeah, I agree with you there on the one. So how intimidating is she?
She's pretty fucking ruthless, and that was a big deal to me. So I'm gonna give it a 7. Gotta give it a 7. Mostly because she is in a position of power over a bunch of slaves, which is a terrible thing to say. So there really are no ends for her. Like, she can just do whatever she wants, and she has a shitload of money. Yeah, it's easy to be
ruthless to slaves, right?
Well, I mean, it is ancient Rome, and she's attractive and uses her sexuality to manipulate even more people. So she's got the triple threat going, man. She will fuck you up.
I like it. So that gives her a total. I might check that show out. It sounds actually pretty interesting. Plus, the boobs.
There's a lot of boobs. If you're not comfortable with, I think it was Showtime. So, I mean, there's some graphic scenes in there.
Is it worse than Game of Thrones? Not in quality, in goriness, just over the top, unnecessary gore, nudity, anything like that.
Yeah, 100%.
It's worse than Game of Thrones on that.
Yeah, there's a lot more.
Oh, that might not be terrible.
No, it's pretty good. I mean, I enjoy it.
So Lucretia ends with a 25.
That's pretty solid.
Is that higher than you thought she'd end up?
No.
It's good enough for third place.
Middle of the pack there.
Yeah, good enough for third place so far. So, let's get to the main reason we're all here, Cersei Lannister.
Are we talking about Cersei now?
Yes, we're talking about Cersei.
Fantastic.
Obviously, it's just exactly the same stuff you already said about Lucretia. Not really. So, Cersei Lannister from Game of Thrones. She is a mainstay of all 8 seasons of Game of Thrones. And I think that out of the villains portrayed in Game of Thrones, she's the all-around best. She definitely has some flaws, and we'll talk about those. But go ahead.
I was just gonna say she's great for 7 seasons, and then she just stands there.
Well, yeah, she does nothing in season 8, but even within those 7 seasons, she has, as a in-universe character, she has flaws. As a villain, us watching her, it's actually really interesting and good that these flaws exist. Whereas, like, if you take Joffrey and Ramsay, who are just there to be torturists, like, okay, that's good. Their intimidation factor is 10 of 10, but I don't know that they rank high on any of the other 4 categories, right? Same with the Night King. All right, he's intimidating. He's got an ice dragon, but we know literally nothing about him or why he's doing anything other than he wants it to be cold, I guess. Like, come on. We need something more.
Babies?
Yeah.
They're going to take your babies.
I got no sympathy for him. I don't know that he's smart because he literally says nothing.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's fucking...
He has no connection to any of the protagonists that we know of. So by leaving out any backstory for the Night King, you wipe out all 4 categories other than intimidation. But you get high on the Mystique scale because nobody knows a fucking thing about him.
Not even the writers. They have no idea.
No. So that's why we're going to talk about Cersei. She is the all-around, pound-for-pound best villain on Game of Thrones, I think. Her connection to the protagonist, I gave her a 6 out of 10. Because it varies, right? And there aren't really, any out-and-out protagonists in Game of Thrones. There's a lot of people who, like, sometimes do good things, or more often do good things than bad things, but at the same time, they're really not good people either, because everyone's kind of shitty in their own way in Game of Thrones.
So which makes, like, everyone protagonists, then? They're all shitty.
I guess. There's, like, the Mountain's not a protagonist. Anyway, she's definitely either already connected to Robert, Jaime, Ned, Tyrion, Tywin, all those people, or she builds her own connections to other, these other protagonists like Oberyn and the Sand Snakes. Daenerys, she builds connections with. Jon, she builds connections with. So she actively seeks, before she like tries to mindfuck people, she does seek out some connection to them. Marjorie, same thing.
Some common ground.
Yeah, she seeks out connection as much as she can, but she also doesn't have a problem just lighting people up that she's mad at because, you know, they didn't call her back or whatever.
That was a fucking understatement. Lighting people up, man. She's ruthless.
Yeah. But yeah, so I have to give her some credit for like just actively antagonizing characters that she should have absolutely nothing to do with. Like Brynden the Blackfish. Like, why are we going after him? She fucking wants to.
Fuck that sounds like fun.
Yeah. So I think 6 out of 10, a little bit right above the middle. She does have some connections, but they're not really deep connections to any of the protagonists, other than Jaime and Tyrion, I guess. If we're calling them protagonists.
She did initiate the killing of a lot of the Starks.
Did she?
I don't know. I mean, I guess we can't really prove it, can we?
So, the intelligence factor. I'm giving her a 4 out of 10, because she is dumb. And
You
the
think?
problem here is she thinks she is super duper smart, but she's really super duper dumb. Now, so I have a hard time with this because she's really, really extremely dumb, and we get to hear her narration of her own schemes in the book. So, like, you can see how dumb she is in making a lot of the decisions that she's making, or like trying to manipulate things where she's manipulating herself into a corner that she's not going to be able to fight out of. I would, if it was book Cersei, I'd put her a 1 on the intelligence scale. But I think in the show, at the very least, she's cunning. Like, she can figure out how to beat people if she needs to. The problem is like I said, she does this thing where she'll cut off her own nose just to spite her face. And she's going to do that before anyone else has the idea, or even the idea of the idea. So she'll go after these people because she thinks they have slighted her in some way. And she'll go out and find this super interesting and smart way to kill them. But in doing that, in that impulsive move and killing that person, she's created all these other enemies that she didn't think ahead to. So that's her problem, is she doesn't view the whole picture, right? She's no Tywin.
Right. That's a good comparison. I think cunning is a great word for it.
Yes. She can find a way to get the job she wants done. It's just that the job that she wants done is not always the smartest or best move.
Well, I mean, sometimes she just doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a problem, if you want to be considered smart.
That's a problem. Yeah.
Her paranoia kind of gets the best of her, and she ties herself in these little knots that probably could have never existed. And then she has to find her way out of the knot. And she created the knot. That's a problem, I think.
Which usually encompasses even more, she's like a trailer park ruffian, get rich quick scheme type person.
Exactly. She
doesn't work out.
Latches onto Euron. Like, she does all this stuff where like she's just trying to gain the upper hand in the moment, not thinking about how that's going to play out 3 moves down. She's a checkers player, not a chess player.
Plus, she just wants to flex it on you too. She's like,
exactly. She has no problem.
All these fucking checkers I got.
Flexing her dumb move. Sympathy, I gave her a 2, and she gets a 2 because I feel bad for the baby that may or may not have existed ever, and she did genuinely seem to care about her children most of the time. But at the same time,
getting ready to murder one of them at least
twice. So
twice.
She almost murdered him one time, and then she actively contributed to Tommen killing himself eventually. So that's why it's a 2 and not like a 4. All right.
When she got interrupted, she's like, "Fuck! God damn it! I was almost done. I don't like this one even more."
She definitely never felt like the hero of anything. Every decision she made was worse than the previous one. And just early on, I think you can make an argument that she was outwitting the competition to kind of set herself up to rule the Seven Kingdoms. But after that, she just kind of slowly digs her own grave. In the first season and a half, she's like setting herself up perfectly for her and her family to rule for a long time. And then every decision she makes after that, and I guess this goes back to her being dumb and also why I have no sympathy for her, is that she brings in herself. Just every decision she makes gets her further and further away from actually holding power in a meaningful way.
She had a head start, let's be fair. She was
That's
playing
true,
a game
yeah.
by herself, and then everyone
Yes.
else was like, oh, fuck, we're playing? After
And-
Ned Stark got his head cut off, they're like, shit, okay, all right, this is, then they play catch up and get ahead. It's like how the books caught up with the seasons.
Exactly.
They're like, oh, fuck, now I look really fucking dumb.
Well, now we're in the middle of season 6, and Ned Stark just lost his head. We don't know what to do anymore.
Oh, shit. Yeah, exactly. Just like that.
So, I went... So the mystique factor, I gave her a 7 out of 10. But we do know a lot about her and what motivates her, but I think it works in her favor in this scenario. She doesn't need to be mysterious. Because if we didn't know anything about her, if we didn't know about the Valonqar prophecy, or that she loves her children, or she has this relationship with Jaime and how deep that runs, then she would kind of just randomly be being stupid for no reason. If she was like this mysterious, we don't really know what's going on in her head, but we know so much about her that she's desperately trying to destroy Tyrion because of the Valonqar prophecy. She's trying to gain and retain power for herself and her children to kind of prove to Tywin that she is more worthwhile than either Jaime or Tyrion or even Tywin. I don't think the show works if she doesn't have any of that backstory to draw inspiration from.
Oh, 100%.
So I think little mystique works to give her extra points here.
If they didn't do that, I think most people would just be like, what the fuck is her problem? Who pissed in her Cheerios? Like,
Exactly.
What's the deal?
Yeah,
Without
she would
that,
just be this bitchy lady for no reason.
Right. It would be impossible to look
She'd
past
be a little
that.
Liza Arryn-ish without the weird mother-son relationship.
I love how Nicholas Coster-Waldau was just like, yeah, that was the most uncomfortable thing I'd ever seen. Fucking good on all that.
So the intimidation factor for Cersei is a 9 out of 10. Couldn't give her the full 10. She is certifiably crazy, and that is super scary.
It is very scary, but she's dumb.
Yeah,
So
that's why you lose the point. But as another player in the Game of Thrones, if you're one of these other kings or leaders, you would have just literally no idea what shit she's going to pull next. Sansa even thinks she understands her, but really she doesn't. Not that that's Sansa's fault. There's just actually no way to understand her insanity. And I think this is kind of where this is one of the many places where the show failed. And like I think it could have really been great to have Cersei go full Mad Queen, 10 of 10 on the intimidation factor, and just really making decisions out of straight paranoia and general craziness that slowly destroyed her grasp over the Seven Kingdoms. Because then, in order to mirror a Lannister killing the Mad King, you have Daenerys coming in, and a Targaryen would kill the Mad Queen. Probably Dany, but it could also be Jon. Dany would be better in this situation. But like you could build on that of her slowly going crazy and like show what the world witnessed with the Mad King. You can show us that with Cersei while she is holding the throne in the last 2 seasons.
Bet George R.R. Martin is listening to this and he's like,
oh shit, yeah.
We better finish. All right, When's Winter is going to be out in 3 weeks. Thanks to Calvin.
And then Dany is now the savior. The people really believe in her, and she's also slowly going mad with the power herself. So you just have another repeat. So I mean, there's a lot more you could have done than anything that they done. But let's look at why she was actually intimidating, right? She lets her twin. I'm just going to go through the seasons of her intimidating accolades. She lets her twin brother, who she was just caught having sex with, push a small boy out of a window on a tower. And not only lets him, but mostly encourages it. She advocates for the killing of the now crippled boy. She conspired with her cousin Lancel to overserve Robert and boost his ego enough to cause him to have a hunting accident, which eventually killed him. She agreed to flee with her children so that Ned wouldn't reveal their true parentage to Robert, and then before Robert's body was even cold, made her push for the throne and declare Ned a traitor. That's peak Cersei right there. Like everything at the end of season 1 is peak Cersei, and that was great. I wanted to see more of that.
Don't forget she's banging several members of her family.
Yeah. She kept her hands clean of Ned's beheading. but made sure to like apprehend Sansa quickly so she could secure that hostage and appear benevolent like towards Sansa and be like, "Oh, I'm taking good care. That was all Joffrey that killed him," you know.
Oops, sorry.
And so that's just season 1. In season 2, she closes the city as winter's approaching, and no refugees can get into the city for safety. She pushes Joffrey into having all of Robert's bastards murdered, so they can't contest his claim by challenging his power and control. She is this close, put my fingers real close to poisoning Tommen when the battle seems lost. She hires Mandon Moore to kill Tyrion during the Battle of the Blackwater. Slows down a bit in season 3 because Tywin's there, and she only like torments Sansa a little. But season 4, she gets rolling again. She charges and tries Tyrion for the murder of Joffrey when she knew damn well he had nothing to do with it, but just fuck him for generally being around. She tried to pit Tyrion against the Mountain in a trial by combat, which would have been just absolutely brutal.
Oh yeah, he would have picked him up and just threw him 100 yards into the sea.
Had countless other dwarves killed while mercenaries searched for Tyrion because she put a bounty out on his head and didn't care who they killed in the process. Let's see. Worked with Qyburn to reanimate the Mountain and allowed/encouraged Qyburn to experiment with prisoners and reanimation and poisons and all that good stuff and torturing.
Don't forget the wildfire.
Oh, we're not there yet. She didn't like the Tyrells, so she brought in a group of religious fanatics to help rule the city and undermine the Tyrells' power, and then tried to frame them all for crimes against the Seven. And this is kind of where she starts going off the rails a bit, because like she's just making up these conspiracies that have nothing to do with anything. Then she blew up the Sept of Baelor with most of the Tyrells, Sparrows, and lots of citizens from King's Landing during Margaery's trial with wildfire. There you go. I got it in there. Don't worry.
Thank God. That kind of adds to the intimidation factor too, because she's got
this is all intimidation. This is everything she's done in intimidation. Because after that, she waterboards Septa Unella with wine, and then turns her over the Mountain for some additional torture and most likely rape. She didn't help Tommen reconcile any of these deaths, and that led directly to him jumping out his own window. She captured and tortured Ellaria Sand and her daughter, I believe it was Tyene, by giving that kiss of death to Tyene and then making Ellaria watch her die, and then just sitting there starving for several months.
Yeah, that was ruthless.
Teams up with Euron. That in itself is stupid. is just like a bad thing. She agrees to the temporary armistice to deal with the army of dead, and then just says fuck it, absolutely immediately.
Nah.
And then had a prisoner of war killed in front of both armies, leading to Dany attacking the whole city with her dragon. So yeah, I would say she's pretty intimidating.
Fuck her, man. Good absolutely. Lord.
Who you got next?
I got someone who's not nearly as shitty as Cersei Lannister.
Cersei's by far the shittiest. I don't know. So she got a 26 out of... Oh, no, sorry. A 28 out of 50. So she's in third place, moving Lucretia down to fourth place. But just because she's dumb mostly, and I have no sympathy for her for being dumb. It's hard. But she's probably the most... not intimidating, but like the person you wouldn't want to fuck with the most out of who we've gone over so far.
You just give her 50 miles of space because you don't want to deal with
exactly.
Jesus, fuck that. But anyway, I choose Azula from Avatar, Princess Azula. She is pretty ruthless and not, she's not very cool. Anyway, her connection to the protagonist, not a super strong one initially, but it turns into a very strong one. She is trying to track her brother while kind of at the same time hunt the Avatar. Mostly to track her brother. So, over time that kind of evolves it to the point where she has a shit ton of interactions with the main protagonist of the story. So I gave that an 8 out of 10.
Wow.
It developed, but because of her, like 5 other people have connections with the protagonist. So because of her, multiple relationships develop just with, you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, I got you. I'm picking up.
So she's responsible for a lot. Intelligence-wise, she is wicked smart. Basically, she outwits her brother at every turn. She's a brilliant tactician. She's very young. I'm not sure how old she is, but I'm pretty sure she's still a teenager. But she is well regarded within the political structure of the Fire Nation society. So it's something where obviously she makes really sound decisions, and I'm gonna end it at that. She's wicked smart. I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10.
She is no Cersei Lannister, that's for sure.
She is no Cersei Lannister. She doesn't underestimate her foe. She doesn't pick battles that she knows she can't win, and knows when to retreat, which I think you got to live to fight another day. Sympathy, however, I have a 0 for her.
Damn.
First 0 of this whole shindig, because she is just a total sucker. She's drinking the Kool-Aid of her dad, who pretty much dispelled several members of his family, including his son, her brother, and has taken over the world. And she's like his right-hand man and enjoys every second of it. Tries to, get younger people radicalized for their agenda. It's not cool. Give it a 0.
Fuck that. That isn't cool. You're right.
That's not fucking tight.
Not happy about that.
0. Yeah, I'm not happy about it either. Matter of fact, I might boycott Avatar.
Oh shit. Cancel culture coming at you.
Sorry, Nickelodeon. I'm gonna downgrade my Netflix subscription. Mystique, though, I am not 100% sure what makes her so shitty. I think it honestly just comes down to she enjoys it. So outside of that, I could only give her a 4 because it doesn't really make sense to me. I think she's honestly point blank just a shitty person who enjoys being evil. Mm-hmm. That's not very mysterious.
No.
So there's that. And the intimidation factor. Here's where over time it kind of wanes, but only minimally. I'm giving her a 10 out of 10. She's like a cross between a fire shooting Sarah Connor, brilliant Terminator General Patton. She does not fuck around one bit. She can straight shoot fucking lightning at you. That sucks. She knows Kung Fu. She knows like secret Fire Nation, moves and stuff like that. And she can burn you alive very quickly. That's all very scary. And she does it with a smile on her face without breaking a sweat. She's fucking good at it. When people are super good at just being terrible, that's scary.
I feel
not down with that.
Yeah, no, I completely understand. I think you're right. That's definitely intimidating. She's got some fire superpowers and whatnot. She got a total score of 31.
That's
putting her
good.
into second place. Yeah, that vaults her right into second place.
Right behind Homelander.
Yeah, Lucretia's still in last place. Sorry, Lucretia.
It's funny. Showtime show that's shows all the blood and boobs is in last place, but Nickelodeon.
It's because they didn't build a good enough villain. There's more that goes into a villain than just being brutal, I think, as we're seeing here.
100%.
All right. And this is the main event, as you would say. My next pick is Newman from Seinfeld. I'll wait for your applause to stop.
I was about to say, what?
So, Newman is Jerry's neighbor. He's also Kramer's neighbor. And he is Kramer's second best friend, which that leads to more direct interaction with Jerry than Jerry would ever like. So I gave his connection to Jerry, the protagonist here, a 6 out of 10. Because, they're neighbors. He's over all the time hanging out with Kramer. Jerry doesn't want him around, but he's there anyways. Can't help it.
So he's the short little bald one, right?
No, that's George.
Okay.
I see you have not been doing your Seinfeld homework that you should have been.
I have not. There's been very important things going on.
More important than Seinfeld? I think not. So on the intelligence factor, I had to give him a 5 because we really don't know a lot about Newman's intelligence. He knows a lot about how the mail works. He tells us zip codes are meaningless, which, all right, good. That's good to know. But at the same time, he's pretty easily swindled by Kramer. There's a motorcycle helmet for radar detector trade that goes on that Kramer gets the better of. Kramer gets the motorcycle helmet, and he wins that trade because the radar detector doesn't work. So he's got some things that kind of make him look smart, but then a lot of things that make him look dumb too. So I figured 5, put him right there in the middle.
That's fair.
Yeah. Sympathy for the villain. I am here with you as you went with Azula. I am going 0 for Newman.
Dang.
Newman is the hero of nothing. I have no sympathy for him. He works for the Postal Service. Fuck that guy.
Hey now,
he's pure
those
evil.
guys are heroes.
No, not the Postal Service in general, this particular postal worker, and I'll get into some more details on that. But he's pure evil. That's all we need to know.
He misdelivers shit.
Yeah. Nobody in the Postal Service has ever broken the 40% mark.
I don't know what that means. I'm sure someone will.
Of delivered mail.
Oh.
According to Newman, at least. Because one time Jerry has to take over for him one time delivering mail, so Newman can get transferred to Hawaii if he does a good enough job. And Jerry delivers like over 80% of the mail, and the post office knows it's not Newman delivering the mail because that's way too high of a number for somebody that works for the post office to actually get delivered properly.
Oh, well that makes sense.
There you go. So the mystique factor on Newman, I gave him a 7 out of 10. Because we know what Newman's job is, and he lives down the hall in the East Wing in Jerry and Kramer's building. But that's all we know. We don't know why he and Jerry hate each other. We just know that this rivalry, it's deep and it's unrelenting. And we know that he has a very specific taste in women, and that Newman, once broke up with a woman whom Jerry later dated. And, Jerry can't reconcile with that Newman found this woman so appalling that he couldn't continue to go out with her, and he broke up with her.
It's probably the boobs.
He's also a wonderful poet, Newman is. So he's got a lot of mysterious stuff going on around him that we don't really know where it comes from, and that makes him interesting, and it makes him a good foil for Jerry, because Jerry doesn't know where it comes from either.
I could just see him being incredibly fascinating.
So the intimidation factor here is an 8 out of 10. And as I said before, Jerry's looked into his eyes. He's pure evil.
But yet he's not murdered anybody. Correct.
That we know of.
That we know of. He is a postal worker.
He used to have his office or his cubicle next to Son of Sam at some point at the post office. So.
Oh shit.
He could have learned some things. And he's once quoted as saying, "When you control the mail, you control information." And he's saying that in a threatening way to Jerry, saying like he's going to screw Jerry over with his mail. We know that Newman is absolutely not afraid to use his position as a United States postal worker to his advantage for any nefarious deeds that he has. At one point, he infects Jerry's apartment with fleas because either he's eating too many chunky bars, or he already had fleas and he just left the chunky wrappers in Jerry's couch. He cheats at risk.
Dick.
Well, I'm not even done yet. He cheats at risk. That's bad. He betrayed Jerry to his barber when Jerry was cheating on him with another barber. Can't have that.
None of this is intimidating, though. This is all just dickhead shit.
It's intimidating if you're Jerry. Like, you don't want to be around this guy. This is like real life intimidating, right?
And you live down the hall.
Exactly. He tries to get Kramer to commit perjury for him.
Who doesn't do that?
He leaves George hanging on a calzone run because he didn't go to work when it rains. I mean, he's a post office. Never rained, nor sleet, nor snow. It's the first one. Can't call in sick because it's raining, Newman. He steals mail trucks to attempt the Michigan bottle deposit scam, and also to run flounder deliveries for a local Chinese restaurant on the weekends. That's a federal crime, stealing a mail truck.
This dude has like 30 federal crimes to his name off the bat.
He dumps beer on outfielders who are underperforming in baseball games.
That's just low.
He promises Kramer that he'll use his birthday wish to save Kramer because his other friend, FDR, had wished Kramer drop dead, so Newman was going to use his birthday wish to unwish the wish for Kramer to drop dead, but instead he wishes to get a hot girlfriend.
You're getting into some deep Seinfeld cuts here.
He tries to eat Kramer.
Nice.
At one point.
As one does.
He's an enigma wrapped in a riddle, and he's an 8 on the intimidation because this is just not a neighbor you want to have.
I would move the fuck out of that building. No way, man. This guy sounds like a fucking piece of work. I agree. 8 sucks.
Yeah.
I would probably buy several guns for myself and just be like, listen, guy, don't you come near me with your poetry and your mail delivery shit. I don't want to deal with that.
Eden Kramer. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, that was implied. All right? That was implied.
So he gets a 26 overall, just edging out Lucretia to keep her in last place.
Man, that's no love for Lucretia.
No, I just want to talk about Newman.
Lawless.
Sorry. I love Lucy Lawless. She's great, but sorry, Lucretia.
She is pretty great.
Ron Swanson's wife.
Yes.
All right, who is your last pick?
I just gotta say, the first time I sat down and watched Parks and Rec with my wife fully and saw Lucy Lawless come on for the first time, I'm just like, She kept asking me what I was thinking. I'm like, it's really weird seeing her in this after I've literally seen 4 hours of her ass naked on this TV show. It just was really hard to reconcile with for a while. But after the 10th time of seeing Parks and Rec, it was okay.
I think we might need to do a full sitcom villains at some point, right? Because you got Jeremy Jam in there, Toby.
Best villain slogan.
Get back to Newman.
You've been jammed.
He would definitely win that. All right, so
100%.
Who's your last pick?
Last pick, short and sweet. We're going back to the Dragon Ball Z, arena. I couldn't find a fucking word in my head. I'm just like,
universe.
Bonus fucking feature. I'm reading a comic on my wall. Anyway, Cell from Dragon Ball Z. Now, this guy, you got to take it with a grain of salt. The first time I experienced this cat, I was very young. I think I was 9 or 10. And I just remember him being built up. And then they finally revealed him in the show that I watched every day on Toonami after fucking school. But his connection to the protagonist, I'm giving this a 10 out of 10 for multiple reasons. One, he's a super bioengineered android that's basically created to kill the entire human race and fuck up the timeline. Mm-hmm. Second, he is comprised entirely of the cast of main characters' cells. That's why he is called Cell. So he's developed with like Goku's cells, Piccolo cells, Vegeta cells. So he has like their best techniques. He has their interesting quirks. He has all the best things from them. And that's a deep connection.
Yeah. It's a cellular connection. I agree.
You can't get much deeper than that. He is also smart as shit. You see him outwit people constantly. He has this habit of knowing exactly when to strike. He's kind of like a super predator in that regard. He has that weird twitchy intelligence, and at the same time he knows exactly how to manipulate human beings and Saiyan's buttons, which I think takes a little bit of intelligence.
He knows what makes him tick.
Exactly, but there's no pun there, so it just makes it inherently worse. Would you give Sylar an 8?
Yeah.
I'll give it a 7.5 for that reason, pun intended.
All right, so we're not doing half points here, so you can get
7.5, Calvin. You put that down.
Fine. Gonna throw off the whole scale.
Sympathy for the villain is a 1. The only reason I feel bad for this thing is because it had a really kind of not a cool existence. It's just alive. It doesn't know why. And it pretty much just wants to destroy a whole bunch of stuff. That's not fun.
No.
Maybe
I have some sympathy.
Maybe it could want to go to the museum. I don't know. Who am I to say? But that's the only reason I would remotely feel bad for it. Otherwise, he's a fucking douchebag.
It's fair.
Not the hero of his own story. Moral of my story. Mystique, over time, he's slowly revealed, which is really cool. You get more and more of his backstory, but initially, you know absolutely nothing about him. There's just people that have been kind of getting sucked bone dry, and like whole cities disappearing, and then you finally are introduced to this weird bug-looking thing that makes fucking intense sounds when it walks around and sucks life out of people with a needle straw tail. thing. It's really weird.
Sounds weird. But it also sounds a lot like Sylar, other than the needle bug thing.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of cosmetic differences there.
Yep,
One wears a lot of eyeliner. One is green. It has a beak and wings and shit. You've played Halo, correct?
Yes.
I'm sure a lot of people listening have played Halo. The drones from Halo 3 specifically.
Yep.
Very
exactly
similar to that. Very similar to that. Anyway, so did I rate them on Mystique?
You haven't given a number yet.
I haven't given a number yet. Okay. Gave him a 6 just because you get so much of his backstory, but the build-up is fantastic, and the way it pays off is great as well. Now, intimidation factor, 10 out of 10. Opening with the rating.
Boom.
He is fucking scary. First off, he's cosmetically scary. His sole purpose really is to just devour people. If he has multiple stages to his progression, so if he sucks up like certain people into him and absorbs them, he becomes more powerful,
so
harder
like
to defeat. Yeah, actually, kind of. Yeah, 100%. He gains bits of their powers. He's already got a bunch of powers.
Same with Sylar. This sounds like it's just a knockoff of Sylar, to be honest.
It sounds like it's a knockoff of Dragon Ball Z, if you want to talk about that. If you cut his arm off, he can regenerate. He knows everybody's best moves. He is the
That's one power
ultimate
Sylar
predator.
never gets. He tries to take it from the cheerleader, but she's too good. She outsmarts him.
Is that Hayden Panettiere?
Yes.
Very cool. Anyway, yeah. He is a nasty motherfucker. And at the same time, he's so impressed with his own strength and can back it up that he holds a world's martial arts tournament. Basically, it's like, yeah, if y'all lose, then I'm going to destroy the world. And if y'all win, then I'm probably still going to destroy the world. And just straight wipes the floor with everybody. Yeah, he's kind of a fucking dick. Just saying. But he wipes the floor with everybody, and then it just barely defeated in the end. So 10 out of 10.
Well, obviously, he's got to be defeated in the end. All right, that gives him a total of 34 and a half. And you were going to be not happy with that half point when we get to the final entry in our list. And that is Lorne Malvo from Fargo Season 1.
Oh, shit.
Dun, dun, dun.
Don't know who that is.
Did you ever watch Fargo? You should watch Fargo. It's good.
My dad has told me to watch that at least 500 times.
It's good. Season 1's the best season. 2 and 3 are also good. I haven't started Season 4 yet. I'm just going to wait till it's done and then watch the whole thing together. So his connection to the protagonist, I gave him a 5 out of 10. He's got like a shaky connection, and that kind of works in his favor. He's actually hired by Lester Nygaard, who is like kind of the protagonist, but also kind of an asshole. So he's quote unquote hired to kill his old buddy, and then he comes to help Lester after Lester kills his wife, and that's it. He kind of goes into the wind after that. But that's his connection to the whole story, as he helps him out, and then the cops, who are the actual protagonists, are now after him. So he's connected to everybody in some way.
So the connection's tenuous, but it's there.
It's there, right? That's why it's a 5. The intelligence factor. He gets a 10 out of 10 here. He simultaneously stays 2 steps ahead of the police from 2 different jurisdictions, the mob, an elite hitman team, and Lester. Now, Lester, not super complicated or impressive to stay 2 steps ahead of, but it was going on at the same time as all these other people, so like you factor that in. He is very well thought out. He plans everything down to the letter, makes sure he gets it right. He's also a hitman in the beginning, working for the mob. But
for good measure,
yeah.
Gotta have that.
And he, when he helps Lester, he does it in a very smart way, and he knows how to teach Lester how to get away with his own murder, or not his own murder, the murder that Lester commits. And like I said, he just stays 2 steps ahead of the police and everybody else the whole time. So that takes a lot of intelligence.
Yes, it does, because there's a lot of smart cops out there.
Well, especially in this show, the usually in a lot of cop shows, the cops are incompetent, but in Fargo they are competent beyond measure. The ones that we're all actually supposed to be rooting for. Now, the way they slow them down a little bit is they'll have like their superior officers will be stupid and be like, nah, you're crazy. That's not what's going on. We already got this guy that confessed. Don't worry about this stuff. Stop doing your job. And then they just do their job anyways because they know it's not right.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. So sympathy for the villain. He gets a 1 out of 10. Malvo's just out here for himself, and he pretty much just wants to kill people and create chaos.
He's Joker-esque there.
A little bit. Not quite that much chaos. He doesn't even get paid for most of his kills that we see on screen. He's just doing them for the fun of killing. And like Fargo, it doesn't make any attempts for us to actually ever side with him. We know he's a bad dude the whole time, and it's just super interesting to watch him get away with it for most of the season and see how he's going to continue getting away time and time again. They did a really good job of building him up as like, he's the villain. We're telling you he's the villain, but we're going to make you kind of root for him in a way that you want to see him do more stuff. Not that like you want him to be alive and he's a good person, but just like you want to keep seeing him work.
That makes for some of the best villains.
Well, and he's the reason I put this together. Is like I was watching Fargo and I'm like, I need to talk about Lorne Malvo somehow. And I was like, I can't just do a whole episode on Lorne Malvo. I mean, I probably could, but I liked the idea of just wrapping all these TV villains together.
He should be honored.
Yeah. So really the only sympathy I have for him is that he was so cunning. I wanted to keep going to see more and more of him. And Billy Bob Thornton just does a tremendous job with this character. He's smooth, he's mysterious, he's intimidating. He was just the absolute perfect villain to watch. We're going to see if the math plays out for him, but I liked watching. Did not expect
you to say that name.
Every moment. I like that. That was what kept me glued to this show more than anything, and it is what made me come back for seasons 2 and 3, hoping he would make more appearances.
That's wild. I did not expect you to. I didn't realize he was doing TV.
He did one season of Fargo. I think he's got an Amazon show too.
That makes sense.
I like
That's
Billy
like
Bob
his
Thornton.
natural
really
progression.
Good. Yeah. And he gets an extra half point here in the sympathy for he keeps recordings of all of his contracts and like all of any phone call he receives. So that way, if he's ever caught, everybody else goes down with him.
What a dick. What a fucking prick job.
Hey, helps take down the mob and Lester Nygaard, so.
Yeah, but he's a fucking rat.
Well, he's not. He can't be a rat when you're dead.
You're a dead rat. It's the worst rat.
His mystique factor is a 9 out of 10. And this is a case where the lack of backstory absolutely worked in favor of the villain. We didn't know where he came from. We just know he's a badass. Because we don't know his motivation, we never really knew what to expect next. You know, where's he going? Who's the next target? Why is this person the next target? Why is he helping Lester? Why not just, if you're going to be a rat in the end anyways, why not drop the dime on Lester right away and get the heat off of your back? You know, what's his role with the mob? Did any of it actually matter? There were just so many questions raised that never needed to be answered because it was so captivating to watch Billy Bob Thornton work.
I'm there for it. I'm gonna have to check that shit out, man. That sounds sweet. I've heard a lot about it.
It's really well made. Season 1 is the most interesting because of Billy Bob Thornton, but like I said, 2 and 3 are good.
Usually how it goes.
Yeah. Well, they're anthology seasons too. So like, season 1 has very little to do with season 2 and season 3. Other than that, they all take place in the general same area. So like, season 1 I think takes place in like 2006, but season 2 is in the 70s, and then season 3 is in the late 80s. So they kind of jump time frames too, but all things going on in and around this town and with this same kind of police force, and some of the people are the same. And so it's really cool how they fit to the little things that they fit together between seasons.
Kind of like True Detective, but more
connected than True Detective.
Right. More focused.
Yes, that's it.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
And so his intimidation factor is a 10 of 10. He can kill anyone at any time. He was at one point outgunned by two expert hitmen while also being pursued by a police officer, and he got out of there unscathed, or not unscathed, but on top, I'll say. He realized that the mob who had previously hired him also hired those 2 hitmen to come after him. So he went to their headquarters and killed every single one of them in broad daylight without missing a beat. Just shot up the whole thing. There's 2 cops waiting outside because they know there's mob activity. They don't see anything.
What
Those
a
2 cops were
badass.
Key and Peele.
Goddamn. That sounds intense.
Yeah. He enjoys the art of killing so much that he first helped a complete stranger at the hospital by killing his old high school bully, just for the fuck of it. Then, for no real reason, helped that same stranger get away with killing his own wife and a police officer.
I do not like this person.
No, he's
Just throwing that
a
out there.
bad dude. But he's
not
intimidating.
Okay. Yeah.
And he's very captivating to watch.
But he's intimidating.
You never know if he's coming after you, where he's coming from, or why he's coming for you. You just know if he sets his sight on you, he's going to get you.
You're fucked.
And then after he gets you, he just disappears into the scenery, becomes someone else. He's almost like a faceless man, to be honest.
That sounds. I'm there for that. I gotta fucking
you should
check
watch
this shit out, dude.
I don't think I spoiled anything there for you. It's, I guess, other
He's
than
a super good murderer.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Keeping the tapes, maybe, but that's not a huge plot point in that season. It just kind of wraps it up. So, all right.
That's fair.
So let's see who the best villain is. Drum roll, please. That is not a drum roll. With 35 points, the best villain is Lorne Malvo from Fargo season 1.
I could have called that. You got him so good. You know,
he's great.
You made me want to watch.
Cell comes in second place with 34.5 points. See?
So scary.
Told you you're going to want that half point. In third place is Homelander with 32 points. In fourth place is Azula with 31 points. In fifth place, I think I'm on, is Sylar with 29 points. In sixth place is Cersei Lannister with 28 points. In seventh place is Newman with 26 points. And Lucretia comes in last with 25 points.
I like the gamut of villains there.
Yeah.
There's a wide range of villains.
It definitely is. The sympathy for the villain was really our lowest rated category for all of them.
It's hard to have sympathy for a villain, and most times it's not portrayed very well over an extended period of time.
Right. The longer that villain exists, the less sympathy you're going to have for them.
100%.
But there are some that I think out there that you can make an argument for. Gus Fring, I think you can make an argument for having sympathy for him.
Yeah, that shit was nasty.
Avon Barksdale from The Wire could have some
extent.
of him. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's some out there that you could make an argument. So, Lorne Malvo is the best. We didn't have a perfect villain, but the best villain was Lorne Malvo from Fargo season 1. If you disagree, get at us on Twitter at APA something at alone_podcast. So, we talked about all these villains. Here's the most important question. Which one of these villains that we discussed today would you be most likely to help? Not who are you most afraid of or anything like that. Who, if you're going out being a villain, who do you think you could help? Who do you think you could actually help?
Probably Newman. Because
you could just be a dick to everybody around you.
Right. I could just, that's better than killing everyone. Just fucking throw that out there. And at the same time, maybe Jerry's a bit of a dick.
Oh, Jerry's definitely
a dick. Who knows? Right. So I could defend my buddy. I'm very good at punching, and there's that.
Well, that's kind of the role that Kramer has to play a lot, is he's got to play peacekeeper between the two of them because he's friends with both of them. So, yeah, you could make a good Kramer.
I could probably... Dude, I'm pretty good at roasting people. Like, if they're in front of me, I'm pretty good at roasting them, and I would just have a good time with Jerry.
There you go. I went with Lorne Malvo. And let me say why I didn't go with anyone else. Sylar, too barbaric in his killings. If I had a power, he'd turn on me eventually. And if I didn't have a power, he would use whatever skills I had and then kill me too. So I don't think I'm getting away from Sylar. He's not teaming up with me.
No loyalty.
Cersei, too ruthless and erratic. I couldn't be around that. I can't work with somebody who would, go out and have me tortured for making a bad joke or something like that. Because I'm going to make a bad joke. It's what I do. She's too crazy. She's too unpredictable. If you're going to go into a criminal enterprise, you need a partner you can count on, and that is not Cersei.
No.
Newman, as we discussed, is pure evil. You'd have to hear constant post office and Bunyan stories. That's going to get old quick. I can't hang out with Newman that much.
Yeah, no. That's a good point.
Talks about his bunions often.
I'll be like, dude, fuck off with your bunions.
About your feet, man. So Malvo, he's the best option, I think. He's got your back, even when there's no real reason for him to. He's meticulous, so you know he's really going to help you come up with a good plan to not get caught. And he seems like he's genuinely enjoyable to be around. He's probably got some great stories. Like, I'd rather hear his stories than anything Newman's going to tell me about the post office.
I mean, I like hearing postal workers getting chased down by dogs stories, because they're usually very entertaining.
Yeah, that's fair.
You're like, I'm just going to move past that, dude. That was fucking weird. I have several friends that are in the postal service.
Very
and
strange.
just like, well, they're always like, I was just listening to, Britney Spears. It just, quit asking, man. It just came up on Pandora. Fuck off. And then I just heard snarling and growling, and then all of a sudden I'm just getting my fucking leg bit.
I always thought that was just like this weird joke that came out, and I didn't think it was ever actually a thing.
No, they get attacked all the time.
Okay.
All the fucking time.
So, Nick, do you prefer shows with good villains, or show like the ones we've discussed here, or shows where the villain doesn't really matter, we just get to see the protagonist winning all the time?
100% enjoy shows with good villains.
Okay.
Because that is just the other side of the coin. If you got a good villain, it makes a good hero. It's compelling, and it makes it that much more entertaining when you have it makes it have stakes instead of just being 100% victory all the time. That's boring. Victory.
Yeah, I agree. The well-developed villains way better than the overpowered heroes. I think that's a big issue that the CW superhero shows have.
Definitely. Like
most of them in season 1, they had good villains that could match wits and go toe to toe with the heroes. But after that, they couldn't capture that unless they brought one of those old villains back. They just the hero kept getting stronger and stronger. And the villains would be really strong, but they'd still be beaten one episode very easily.
Yeah, the one-off, the trend of going to one-off villains is not one I appreciate.
The Netflix MCU heroes, those series, I think they had that issue too a little bit. Is they all had very strong villains in the first season, and then they couldn't recapture it. Other than when Daredevil brought back Kingpin in season 3.
Yes.
Kingpin season 3 is a better villain than Kingpin season 1.
100%.
And it's because they had they had season 1 to already draw off of, and they had that rivalry built in now. But I don't even remember. Was it just the Hand was the villain in season 2?
Yeah, pretty much. It was not great.
Yeah, and the Defenders, their villain was...
Well, the Punisher was partially a villain,
yeah, that's true. And the Punisher was good, but I don't know that he was a good villain. He was just a good character that was opposed to Daredevil for some of the season.
Right.
Yeah, like you said, it's just not fun to watch the heroes win every episode. There needs to be stakes.
Right.
And that's why that's why Empire Strikes Back is considered the best Star Wars, right? Because you see the heroes falter. If the heroes don't falter, then it's just okay, cool.
Yeah, right. They're definitely gonna win. I gotta reflect upon the entirety of it and be do they genuinely have a chance? And when they don't, or when it seems much bleaker, it just makes it more enjoyable. I don't know why.
I agree. Good villains all day long.
All day.
Got anything else on TV villains?
I think that's it. I have a lot of new shows I need to watch solely for villains.
There you go. The rest of you, if you haven't seen any shows, check them out. They have good villains and good heroes. They're good shows. We didn't pick a lot of bad shows for this list because they're bad.
Yeah, we don't fuck around with that bad shit.
I watched 12 seasons of The Big Bang Theory, so.
Dang, man.
But we're not talking about it ever, so. There's that. Yeah.
That's a win?
Yeah, that is a win. We will not ever do an episode of The Big Bang Theory.
Woo!
That is a podcast about something guaranteed. Follow us on Twitter at APA something at alone_podcast. Check out podcastaboutSomething.com for more great content. There's blog posts and NFL picks and all kinds of things like that. We got a merch store over at tpublic.com/APA something. And all of the music for Podcast About Something is provided by Those Cats.
You guys stay sassy.
Stay classy.